Hello everyone, she's lying beside you skin to skin, yet somehow she feels miles away. You run your fingers gently down her arm and she doesn't flinch, but she doesn't lean in either. You tell her she looks beautiful today, and she smiles, faintly, politely. It's not that anything is wrong exactly, but something's missing, something unspoken, something she's not saying and maybe you're not asking. And maybe the hardest part is, you care, you really do, you're showing up, doing your best, trying to offer affection in the ways you know how. But still there's a quiet ache that lingers between you. She says she's tired, overwhelmed, not in the mood. You chalk it up to stress, hormones, timing, and maybe it is, but maybe it's also something deeper, something almost no one taught you to recognize. You see, intimacy isn't a one-size-fits-all experience. It doesn't begin in the bedroom. It doesn't even begin with touch. For many women, intimacy starts with emotional attunement, with feeling seen, with safety, with resonance. It's in the way you speak to her when she's vulnerable. It's in the micro moments, the quiet gestures, the attuned silences. It's not just how you love her, it's whether she feels loved in the way that matters to her. And here's the part we rarely talk about. Many men think they're being intimate when they offer sex. But for many women, sex is the culmination of intimacy, not the starting point. Without the emotional groundwork, without the small signals of connection, what's meant to feel close can actually feel distant. Even performative, even lonely. I've sat with couples for decades, and in those intimate rooms behind closed doors, women whisper truths they rarely say aloud. They describe what makes them feel loved, not just liked, not just appreciated, deeply, fully loved. And almost always, it's not what their partner assumes. It's the way he anticipates her needs without being asked. The way he listens without fixing, the way he looks at her as though she's still the most fascinating mystery in the room. It's how he holds her when she's not okay, not for his comfort but for hers. It's the presence, the softness, the nuance, the choice to meet her where she is, not where he wishes she'd be. Intimacy in this context isn't about intensity. It's about consistency. It's about the feeling of I'm safe here, even when she's angry, even when she's quiet, even when she's confused. It's about the ways her nervous system relaxes in your presence, because something about you says, you don't have to perform here, you don't have to pretend, I'll stay. And I know this can feel like a lot, especially when you're not sure what she wants, especially when your love is sincere and you're doing your best and she still seems emotionally out of reach. You might be wondering, what does she really need from me? Why does it feel like nothing I do is enough? That's why this conversation matters. Because there are styles of intimacy, ways of connecting, that speak to the inner emotional world of a woman. They're not about technique, they're about resonance. When you understand them, you don't just become a better partner. You become a safer space, a more attuned presence, and slowly she softens, she opens, she trusts. But here's the twist. These intimacy styles are not what most people expect. They're subtle, sometimes counterintuitive, and they don't follow a formula. They require presence, self-awareness, and a willingness to love not just your way, but her way. So today, we're going to explore the 5 intimacy styles women say make them feel most deeply loved, not performatively loved, not transactionally loved, but seen, held, and cherished in the quiet places of the soul. She used to lean into you when she laughed. Now she leans away, not dramatically, just slightly, almost imperceptibly. You wouldn't notice unless you were paying attention. But you are. You've noticed the way her shoulders tense when you try to comfort her, the way her responses feel rehearsed, like she's reading lines in a play she doesn't remember auditioning for. You ask how her day was. She says fine. You tell her you missed her. She says I know. You try to initiate something more intimate, and she hesitates, sometimes gently, sometimes with visible resistance. She still loves you, you think, but it's different now. She's different. Or maybe it's the way she protects herself now, emotionally. Maybe it's the walls she's built not out of malice, but fatigue. She feels far even when she's right there. And you wonder quietly if it's something you did or didn't do or forgot to do. You go through the checklist. You've provided, you've stayed faithful, you've done the things, maybe not perfectly, but with good intentions. But love doesn't live in checklists. It lives in the unspoken spaces between them, and in long-term relationships, the erosion of intimacy doesn't usually happen all at once. It happens slowly, invisibly, over time. She used to crave your touch, now she tolerates it. She used to tell you everything, now you get the headlines. She's still there, but parts of her aren't, and it hurts. It hurts because you still want her, not just physically. Emotionally, you miss her laughter, her openness, the way she used to curl into you like you were home. But lately, it feels like you're trying to reach someone through a fog. You want to ask her what happened, but deep down you already sense the answer. What happened is life, responsibilities, burnout, misunderstandings that were never truly resolved. Emotional needs that were minimized, dismissed, or simply never spoken aloud. She started to pull away when she felt you weren't really hearing her. When your responses felt like solutions instead of presence, when she cried and you changed the subject, or turned it into a lesson, or reminded her how good things really are. She pulled away when the relationship stopped being a safe place to feel deeply, and maybe she didn't even know that's why. Most women don't. They just know they don't feel like themselves anymore. They feel emotionally overextended. Chronically unseen, their inner world, which once felt valued, now feels irrelevant. They start to protect it. And here's the brutal paradox. The more she retreats, the more you pursue. The more you pursue, the more she retreats. Because now it feels like pressure, like expectation, like intimacy has become another task she has to perform. So you end up in this dance of distance. You try harder, but she reads it as obligation. She shuts down and you feel rejected. You both begin to miss each other inside the very relationship meant to connect you, and nobody talks about this. Nobody warns us that even in love, especially in love, there can be this soft, silent grieving. We expect conflict. We expect highs and lows, but we don't expect this subtle disappearance of closeness, this quiet ache that follows a dinner where you spoke but didn't connect. And here's the thing, it's not that she wants more effort, it's that she wants different effort. She doesn't need grand gestures. She needs to feel emotionally safe, seen, prioritized, not just in the calendar but in your eyes. She wants to feel chosen. Every day, and if she doesn't, if she feels emotionally alone in your presence, her body will follow her heart. Her desire will dim, her nervous system will armor up. This is not because she's cold, it's because she's protecting herself. Emotional intimacy is not a bonus for her, it's the foundation, and when it's missing, nothing else feels fully satisfying. You may still make love, you may still share a home, a schedule, even a laugh, but you'll sense the hollow space where something deeper used to live. That is what we're here to talk about, because most men are not taught how to nourish that emotional space. They're taught how to protect, provide, pursue, but they're not shown how to truly attune, and most women don't know how to ask for what they need either. They don't have the language, so they just say, "I'm fine," while quietly disconnecting from the very person they long to feel safe with. But what if we could name the unspoken? What if we could identify the specific intimacy styles that make a woman feel cherished? What if we stopped guessing and started noticing? Because once we understand her intimacy language, not just her love language, but the way she feels safe enough to open, we begin to rebuild something sacred. And in that space, desire returns, warmth returns, trust deepens. But before we move towards solutions, we need to understand the depth of what's been lost. Because you can't heal what you won't acknowledge, she walked into my office with that familiar blend of strength and exhaustion. The kind that says, I'm still here, but I'm tired. Her name was Clara. She had been married for 12 years. 3 children, 1 dog, a job she tolerated, a home she tried to keep warm, and a husband she no longer knew how to reach. He's not a bad man, she began. He's kind, he works hard, he doesn't yell, he brings me coffee in the morning. She paused. But I feel alone. When I asked what she meant, her voice trembled. It's like I'm carrying the emotional weight of this relationship. I notice when we haven't talked. I notice when the mood shifts. I notice when we're growing distant, and I try to fix it, to say something, to reach across. But after a while I stopped. I stopped because he always says he's fine. He doesn't see what I see. He doesn't feel what I feel. She looked down, ashamed of what came next. I miss being touched, but not like that. I miss being held like I matter. I miss being looked at like I'm more than just a mom or a project manager. I miss softness. There was a silence. And then he wants to have sex, but I feel invisible. How can I give my body to someone who doesn't even notice when my spirit is dim? Clara wasn't the first woman to say this. She wouldn't be the last. What she was describing wasn't resentment. It was a loss of attunement, a severing of emotional intimacy. And it happens slowly, subtly over time, especially in long-term relationships where logistics begin to replace affection. It's important to understand that women are not withdrawing from physical connection out of cruelty. They are withdrawing because their bodies are wise. The female nervous system is incredibly sensitive to emotional safety. For many women, arousal begins not with touch, but with trust. The Gottman Institute, known for its decades of research on marital stability, found that couples who thrive long-term are those who turn toward each other in the small moments. When a woman says, "I had a weird dream," and her partner pauses to ask about it, when she sighs and he notices, when she's quiet and he gets curious, not defensive, these are called bids for connection. And here's the crucial part. When partners respond to these bids with presence and genuine interest, emotional closeness increases. But when those bids are ignored or worse, dismissed, the emotional bond begins to fray. John Gottman famously found that couples who divorced responded to each other's bids only 33% of the time. Couples who stayed happily together, 86%. Why does that matter? Because for many women, these moments of connection are what create the feeling of intimacy. Not just before sex, not just during anniversaries, but in the daily rhythm of being seen. Another study published in the Journal of Sex and Marital Therapy found that women who reported feeling emotionally connected to their partners were significantly more likely to experience physical desire. The reverse was also true. When emotional connection was low, desire diminished, even in otherwise functional relationships. In essence, for many women, emotional foreplay is not optional, it's foundational. This is not to say women are fragile. It is to say they are complex and wise. They don't want to offer their vulnerability to someone who feels distant, distracted, or emotionally disengaged. Their body knows when it's safe to open. That's why one of the most potent intimacy killers in long-term relationships isn't conflict, it's emotional disconnection. It's the accumulation of moments when she didn't feel listened to, when she felt rushed, when she needed softness and got solutions instead. And here's the heart of it. Women don't want perfect partners. They want present partners. They don't need grand declarations. They need resonance. When she says, "I'm overwhelmed," she's not always asking for advice. She's asking, "Can you meet me here?" When a man meets her there, when he looks into her eyes and doesn't flinch from her sadness, doesn't try to edit her pain, doesn't make it about his failure, something shifts. Her nervous system says, "I'm not alone, I'm understood, I can exhale," and when she can exhale, she can soften. That softening is not a performance, it's a return. When I spoke to Clara 6 months later, she was still with her husband. But something had changed. She told me it's not that he suddenly became a poet or a therapist. He just slowed down. He started really seeing me, noticing when I was quiet, asking better questions, holding my hand without expectation, sitting with me in hard feelings without fixing them. I can feel him now, and because of that I want to be close again. Her body knew. Her heart knew, and finally her partner knew too. The science confirms what so many women intuitively feel. Intimacy is not just about closeness, it's about safety, presence, and emotional congruence. And when we understand that, we stop asking, "Why doesn't she want me?" and start asking, "What does she need in order to feel safe with me again?" That question opens everything. There is no single blueprint for intimacy, but if you pay close attention, if you watch her body, her breath, her eyes, you'll begin to notice the moments when she softens. And those moments hold the answers, not the textbook answers, not the performative ones, but the quiet, almost invisible shifts that say, "I feel safe here." For many women, the intimacy they crave begins long before the lights go out. It begins in the morning when she feels you linger just a moment longer before leaving the bed. It begins in the kitchen when you brush your hand across her lower back, not to initiate, but simply to say, "I see you." The first method, if we can even call it that, is emotional tuning. This is not about saying the right thing, it's about feeling with her. It's sitting across from her, and instead of responding quickly, you pause. You stay with the emotion. She says, "I don't know why I'm crying." And you say, "You don't have to know, I'm here." That's safety. You'd be surprised how few people, men or women, have experienced someone simply being with them, in stillness, without needing to fix, change, or interpret. This kind of presence is rare, and in its rarity it becomes erotic, not in a rushed, heated way, but in a sacred, layered way. Because emotional safety is the prelude to arousal. Here's the second intimacy style that many women name non-sexual touch. Touch with no agenda, touch that expects nothing in return. It can be a hand on her knee during dinner, a quiet brushing of hair behind her ear while she's folding laundry, a slow, unhurried hug where neither of you speaks. You see, touch without expectation tells her something profound. I love you without needing something from you right now. That kind of love is irresistible. Third, shared stillness. This is not about talking. In fact, talking can often get in the way. Stillness means sitting together in a room without distractions, phones down, eyes occasionally meeting. Breath sinking. In these moments her nervous system recalibrates. She feels you, not your voice, not your performance. It's a deep recalibration of presence, and it often says more than 1,000 words. Fourth, attentive curiosity. Not interrogation, not endless "what's wrong?" questions, but a gentle curiosity that invites her inner world to emerge. You might say, "You've been quiet today. I miss hearing your thoughts." Or, "What's been sitting on your heart lately?" When asked softly, without pressure, this opens space. She may not respond right away, but the invitation alone plants a seed. I want to know you, not just fix you. Finally, and this one may be the most important emotional repair, when things go wrong, and they always do, how do you return to each other? Women remember ruptures, but more than that, they remember how those ruptures were or weren't repaired. If she shuts down during a conversation and you respond with anger, she remembers the disconnection. But if you come back an hour later, sit beside her and say, "I think I missed something important earlier. I was in my head, but I'm here now. Can we try again?" That right there is intimacy. It's not perfection, it's return, because intimacy isn't about always getting it right. It's about becoming the kind of person she can return to. The kind of partner who listens beneath the words, who touches with reverence, who holds space for her full humanity, not just the parts that are easy to love. Over time, these gestures accumulate, like drops of water softening stone. She starts to lean in again, to reach out again, to meet your eyes without fear of being misunderstood. Her body becomes a place of welcome again, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it, through attunement, presence, and care. And the irony, when she feels emotionally safe, her desire awakens naturally, not as an obligation, but as a response, as a longing to return the same intimacy you've offered, not performatively, but because she wants to. This is what most men miss, not because they don't care, but because no one taught them that women fall in love through the nervous system. She's not looking for intensity, she's looking for safety, not control, not charm, not endless romantic gestures. She's looking for the partner who leans in when she retreats, who stays when she feels messy, who listens for what she doesn't say. And when she finds that partner, her body follows, her love deepens, her heart opens, not all at once, but beautifully, surely day by day. Maybe as you listened, something stirred in you, a memory, a moment, a recognition. Maybe you saw her face, or maybe you saw your own, because intimacy, true intimacy, isn't just about what we offer another. It's also about what we're willing to see in ourselves, the parts of us that want to get it right, the parts that feel helpless when she pulls away, the parts that learn to measure love in tasks and gestures, not emotional resonance. And if you're here, if you've made it this far, it tells me something about you. It tells me you care enough to learn, to listen, to try again. That in itself is rare, because most people don't change out of fear. They change out of love. They want to understand. They want to bridge the gap. They want to show up not as the perfect partner, but as the present one. The one who says, I see you, I'm still learning you, and I want to keep learning you for the rest of my life. Maybe there was a part of this message that felt painfully true. Maybe it reminded you of someone you love who doesn't feel as close anymore. Or maybe it reminded you of the version of you that wants to be close but doesn't always know how. Whatever it was, which part of this message touched you the most, I'd love for you to share in the comments, not just for me, but for the others who will read your words and feel a little less alone. And if you found resonance here, if something softened, if something made sense, if something called you forward, consider subscribing. This channel is a place for reflection, for relearning love, for rebuilding emotional bridges that time and stress and misunderstanding may have worn down. Because intimacy isn't something you either have or don't have. It's something you create moment by moment with intention. And you don't have to do it alone. Thank you for being here, for listening with an open heart, for daring to love more deeply, even in the messy places. You are already the beginning of a new kind of closeness. Stay soft, stay curious, stay connected. I'm grateful you're here.